Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Stacy. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Luigi Mangione case and the Clancy case. Um, I had done a video a couple days ago, and then something when I was smoking, I had to cut it. But I was talking about how the double jeopardy law, the way it's written in the state of New York, means if the state tries you first, the federal system can still charge you. But if the federal system charges you for the same event, like the same crime event, if the federal government charges you, you cannot be tried at the state level. So this is going to go up to the appellate court, I am sure, and then they're going to have to see, is this considered the same event? Because in the federal thing, he got convicted of stalking, not murder, but he's still facing a life sentence. So I don't know how that is going to ultimately break down. He could get, say 25 or 30 years. He could get up to life. Um, and the judge is not bound by a plea agreement because he just pled straight to the court. That happened in the case where that couple, their baby was missing in California, and then it turned out like he had severely beaten another child, damaged her, and he had pled straight to the court and got probation, and he almost killed her, and then something happened, and then the baby never was found, and the dad pled again straight to the court. The mom was fighting it. So I'm not sure I haven't heard much about that case lately, but different states have different rules, and so it would have been better for the federal government to hold off charging him until the state did, because as soon as his attorneys, keyed in on the fact that if he pleads guilty to the federal crime, then the state may not, that may implode the state's case. I do believe this is going to go up to a higher court. I think the trial court is going to send it up because however the trial court rules, if they rule in favor of the defense, the prosecution is going to appeal it. If they rule in favor of the prosecution, the defense is going to appeal it. So the trial that was supposed to happen, I think in September, that's going to be delayed. Whether it happens at all now is somewhat up in the air from what I've surmised from the attorneys that I've watched, and some of them are in New York. Melanie Little, I haven't seen her comment on this case since the plea deal. She's been covering, I think, the Clancy case. But Melanie Little is a New York attorney, and she's very good. If you like true crime and if you like cases out of New York, because she covered Gilgo quite a bit, she is very good. I do like her. But yeah, the attorneys that I've watched seem to think that they don't know how this is going to go. It depends on how the judges rule. So that's kind of where the Mangione case is. Now, the Clancy case, which, I have really bad PMDD. I can picture times back in my 20s when I was, if not in a psychotic break, almost close to one, where had I had the means, I would have probably killed everybody in the house. This is my husband and I were living together before. We were married before. We had children. We did have pets. But, I mean, there were times that I was so angry, so frustrated. He and I were fighting so badly. We were young. There was addiction on both sides involved. There was cheating involved. There was a lot of lying involved, and I don't deal well with lies. I get angry as F about the truth, but tell me the truth and I will ultimately accept it and deal with it. It may take a while, but if you lie to my face, I just take that as a personal FU. And this caused huge relationship problems for he and I. That's why I talk about family dynamics, because we've been together for 30 some years. We have worked through a lot of troubles, a lot of problems. I haven't drank, and I've been drunk, and I couldn't tell you when. And I occasionally will have a sip of alcohol if my daughter's having something to drink. But that's usually if we're out. Like last time I went to Tigers game, I had a couple sips of her drink. I paid for it, so I could have a couple sips. But I don't drink. And I was never a drug taker. I was a very heavy smoker, and I was a very heavy drinker for many years. Um, so I can understand how when you have, and then I was put on a lot of antidepressants that I shouldn't have been put on because they didn't realize I was on the spectrum, and there's a whole world of problems when you're incorrectly diagnosed, and then they put you on an SSRI or an SNRI that isn't going to help, and it totally screwed up how my system functioned. I mean, I've been on every, like, Zoloft, Paxil, Prozac. I've done the whole group of the SNRIs and SSRIs, and they've all made me crazy. They make me much worse than I am. But what really kicks everything off is when I'm having my cycle. And so we basically help do that by getting rid of my cycle, either through depot injections or a Mirena IUD. In my case, I don't spot. It just stops my periods. It also stops that mood swing cycle. So it allowed me to be a lot more stable, which then let me deal with the other aspects that I was struggling with. So when it comes to the Lindsay Clancy case, I can understand how if her hormones were all screwed up, and I mean, when I listened to what she told her shrinks, what was in her journals, like, I feel like I'm losing my grip on reality. I don't feel like myself. I feel like I'm swimming, not walking, because of the drugs. Everything's so not right. And they put you on a drug that doesn't work. Sometimes you're on it for 2 or 3 weeks before it builds up in your system enough for you to know, oh God, this is not helping, it's making it worse. And then you got to wait another month for it to get out of your system. So you go in anxious and depressed, and then they put you on something that in my case, made the anxiety shoot up and made my mood just really depressed. And I feel like, why, if she's going to be charged with first-degree murder, why isn't her husband charged with neglect? And I'm not going after him. I think the online community, aspects of the online community have been horrific to Patrick Clancy. Lindsay has said she's the one that did it. Now, you can argue, did she have enough support? Was she failed by the mental health system? Was she failed by her family? Was she failed by everybody? And not just her, but her children. But these are people that lost their children, and she ultimately has to deal with the fact that she's the one that did it because of the mental illness she was having. And I do believe it's real. Could she be faking it? Sure she could. But I've had enough struggles where my hormones have put my mood so out of whack that I didn't know up from down. And I'm an intelligent, educated person. She has a higher education level than I do. It's not a competition. I'm just saying, like, I'm a smart person, but there's been times where I've been in a fetal position on the floor because I could not take any more stress. So, I feel sorry for her, because if she truly was suffering mentally at the time that this occurred, she has to live with that. There is no hell and there is no prison worse than the one that exists in the space between her ears. There's nothing the jury that they can convict her of that's worse than what she's, I'm sure, already doing to herself, because by all accounts, she was a good mother, a loving mother, and a mother that wanted to be the perfect mother, and a mother that was lamenting the fact that she couldn't give her second and third child the amount of attention she gave the first child. I was watching Chris Cuomo talk to Bob Mata, who's a defense attorney. He's been sitting in the court case. He's an excellent source. The Defense Diaries is his YouTube channel. He also has another YouTube channel where he talks about John Wayne Gacy. His dad was Gacy's defense attorney. So Bob was kind of just born and bred to be a defense attorney. He's always been a defense attorney, and he's been in the courtroom. So he's had a lot to say about, like, what we don't see on TV, and obviously he's able to see the jury, we're not. And he said they've been pretty stoic so far, but I think the prosecution has taken too long to get to the point. I don't think they put on a particularly strong case, especially for first-degree murder. I think they should have given them, first degree, second degree, and like some sort, like a manslaughter charge to, if they felt like, yes, she killed them, but there were mitigating factors. Sometimes those things help juries. I mean, that's like in the Karen Reed case. I mean, it was the most expensive DUI case because that was the only thing she was ultimately found guilty of, was drinking and driving. So I don't know what's going to happen with Clancy. That's going to ultimately lie in the hands of the 12 jurors that, are the fact finders in the case. And I just pray, that the jury makes the right call. I don't know what that call is. That's why I'm not God. I don't know what the right call is. I don't know what I would do if I was on that jury. I'd do my best to follow the law. But there is a difference between a justice system and a legal system, because a legal system may not necessarily be just. And what is the just punishment? What is justice for those children? I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. In terms of the Luigi Mangione case, I am concerned that the state's case is in real jeopardy now because of the double jeopardy law and how it is applied in New York. But I think that we're going to have a little bit to wait. I think it's going to have to go up to one of the appellate courts, and because, like I said, I think no matter how the trial court rules, both sides are going to appeal. Whoever loses is appealing that. So, we shall see. I think Luigi Mangione is guilty. He admitted he was guilty. He admitted he stalked Brian Thompson. He's convicted of stalking, but they threw out the terrorism charge. Well, if you're stalking someone to murder them publicly, to send a message, that's terrorism. But hey, that's why I'm sitting at home on my phone putting out a opinion on a YouTube channel. I'm not wearing a black robe in a courtroom. I don't get to make those calls, but I will armchair quarterback from my couch. I just, that I'm not sure why the federal government didn't wait to charge them especially if the Southern District of New York had to be aware that this is a law in New York. The reason why you can be charged in both state and federally is because their jurisdictions are different and they hold dual jurisdiction. So double jeopardy doesn't apply going from the federal to the state or state to federal in almost every circumstance except for in New York. Maybe there's other states that have that, but I haven't heard anyone mention another state that has that law. So just like in Lindsay's case, that's another thing that's different. And normally when you put on a mental health defense and you're saying basically you're guilty or not guilty by reason of insanity, when you try to go for that kind of defense, people don't usually buy it. It's why lawyers don't. It's their last option unless it's really true. But there's something specific I wanted to say about that just popped in my mind and now it's gone. I got it. Oh well. It's gone. It's like, oh, I should mention it, and then poof. Oh well, that's the joys of being 49, almost 50. Short-term memory starts going little by little. But anyway, please like, share, and subscribe. I will do the best I can to get some Smokey videos, but that boy needs a nap. I think he's knocked out on the floor. I heard him crashing through some boxes about 20 minutes ago. So, but yeah, so those are just some of my opinions on the Luigi Mangione case and on Lindsay Clancy. Oh, I think I was saying about the Southern District of New York. They had to know that would interfere with the state's ability to go through the trial, and the federal system's always faster, and they rushed that plea to get out ahead of the trial. So we're going to have to see how that shakes out. And I was saying, I don't know why the domestic terrorism charge was tossed, but hey, that's why I'm not the judge and why I'm sitting here on my phone. Um, and then wherever I was going to go from there, maybe I'll remember later and I'll put it up another video. But thank you for watching. Thank you to my new subscribers. This is just a little happy update for the channel if you've watched this far. I'm up to 101 subscribers. It's taken 8, 13, 14, 16 months. So it's not bad, because I don't really have a lot of ways to promote the channel. So it's growing little by little, and that's fine. I have, nice people that comment, and I respond back, and, hopefully it grows into a nice little community. But please leave me your opinions down below. Tell me what you think of the cases. What do you think should happen with Lindsay? What do you think should happen with Luigi? Do you think that if the state case can't go forward because of the double jeopardy law, do you think that the judge in the federal court will take that into consideration when sentencing? I don't know. I'm interested to know, so I will be watching and waiting. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. It really helps the channel out. And I will try to get some smoky videos up later. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. God bless. Take care.